Welcome everyone. It's Cannabis News. I'm your host Joe Klare. It's October 28th, 2019, a new week here at the Marijuana Times. Find us at marijuanatimes.org. You can find this show by clicking the video tab there. A lot of great articles and writers at marijuanatimes.org as well. Go check it out. Today, talking about the great cannabis crash of 2019. Also a new survey about pain patients about marijuana and their cannabis use, and the annual story telling your children to beware of marijuana edibles during trick-or-treating. Talk about all that coming up. But first, of course, Cannabis News, as you know, or should know, is brought to you by Natureside, nature-side.com, and the organic, all-natural pesticides grow safe and poison-free with Natureside. Don't use banned pesticides or harmful chemicals. Whether you're growing cannabis or not, use Natureside. nature-side.com. Proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Thank you, Natureside. They're awesome. Go check them out. This first story is by Foster Winans at marijuanatimes.org. The Great Cannabis Crash of 2019, a status report. Now, it's a rather long article. You can check it out at marijuanatimes.org, as I said, or click the link of it, rather, in the description of this video. There's links in the description of the videos for all stories I talk about here. He goes through quite a long checklist. Even as he points out in the article, it's not a comprehensive listing of many of the problems that exist with the current state of legal cannabis in the United States. He points out and it's the theme we've talked about here a lot, the patchwork of jurisdictions and laws that go across the United States, the different laws within states, the different laws from state to state, federal prohibition. He points out some of the problems that has caused. Also, the vaping epidemic that's caused a huge problem for the marijuana industry, even though most of the problem has come from illegal THC cartridges. Excessive regulations, taxes, fees, places like California and other places we talked about, where the government, which is the root of all these problems for the most part, is strangling the legal marijuana industry with regulations and taxes and fees. They're doing what government does, and it's been incredibly unhelpful, and it keeps these stories with the black market staying alive in the news because the black market can continue to undercut the legal market in most places in the United States. Tax projections aren't what they're supposed to be. Stocks have been falling. Just a lot of stuff going on, and this goes back to something I've been talking about now for a few years. I didn't realize it's been that long, but I guess it has been. The way we're doing legalization in the United States sucks. We've talked about that. But it's much better than prohibition, so it's going to be what most of us come to accept. And that sucks. And that's okay to say. And I know that sounds sarcastic, but I'm being serious. It's okay to say that. Maybe it's even imperative to point out, excuse me, at least every now and then, that the way we're going about legalization in the United States sucks. It's subpar. It's not efficient in any way. The legal industry that's being built in the United States is like a quilt that's been taken from, somebody pulled a bunch of blankets out of a dumpster and they're patching it together. And, you're laying under that quilt and it's better than freezing to death. But still, it's a quilt patched together with different blankets from a dumpster, and that's what you're laying under. So, I know that's an amazing analogy. That's what I'm here for. But like I said, go check that out at marijuanatimes.org. We'll continue to cover that aspect of legalization. And Foster even says in the article as well that he's had some blowback and some negative feedback from pointing out that things aren't rosy. It's better than prohibition, sure, but that's not a really incredible, it's not a very lofty standard to have to vault. Prohibition was just the worst of the worst, and now we just have, it kind of sucks, which is better than the worst of the worst. But still, it's not what it could be. And whether or not it'll ever get that way, I doubt, because government has to implement legalization, and they're going to do it poorly. But our only other option is to keep prohibition, so we're stuck. We have what we have, and that's all we is going to have, I guess. Moving on from that story over to normal.org. Survey: pain patients often report substituting cannabis for opioids. We get into some more positive news. Some 4 in 10 adults who report using both marijuana and opioids within the past year acknowledge either decreasing or ceasing their consumption of opioids as a result of substituting cannabis, according to analysis of survey data published in the journal PLOS 1. Oh, PLOS 1. Oh, I get it now. I just got that. Sometimes I'm a little slow on the uptick. A team of investigators affiliated with the San Francisco Veterans Affairs Medical Center assessed prevalence of self-reported cannabis substitution in a nationally representative sample of pain patients. Among those who acknowledged recent use within the past 12 months of cannabis and opioids, 41%, quote, reported a decrease or a cessation of opioid use due to marijuana use. Respondents most commonly reported reasons for substitution were, quote, better pain management, 36%, fewer side effects, 32%, and withdrawal symptoms, 26%. Respondents' decision to engage in cannabis substitution was not influenced by either the legal status of cannabis in their state or by particular socio-demographics. In other words, they didn't really worry about the legality or anything else. They found that marijuana use helped them, and that's the reason they do it. And there's kind of a little bit of an attempt in some places in the media to say, well, maybe marijuana is not as good for opioid use as previously thought, as if that's some sort of mark against legalization or the elimination of prohibition. In any case, it's good news because these people, they've been put on these pills. They've been given these pills by doctors. Doctor said, this is good. It's, you're going to be fine. You're going to be better. It's healthy. I'm a doctor. Trust me. And then all these people get hooked on opioids and then they're screwed. The fact that the person who gave it to him was a doctor doesn't make their problem any less. And the fact that many are able to move on to cannabis as a substitute, either partially or totally, is fantastic news. This next story, this last story from NBCNews.com. The Halloween tale of marijuana handed out to trick-or-treaters is as real as a ghost story. I'm sure many of you know about these stories by now. It is an annual thing. And they point out some other annual stuff the author of the article does, like the poisoned Halloween candy fear that goes around every year. That dates back to 1964 in Long Island, New York, when a disturbed housewife there handed out treats containing arsenic. The woman claimed it was a joke and that she did it because she thought some of the trick-or-treaters who rang her doorbell were too old. She was later committed to a hospital for examination. Well, there you go. But see, that happened one time 55 years ago. That's a long time to hold on to something. In Pasadena, Texas, 10 Halloweens later, a father killed his 8-year-old son after putting cyanide in pixie sticks. The man was subsequently put to death for the murder in 1984. Of course, there's the razor and blade in the apple tale, which actually cannot be traced back to one specific incident. People think it's mostly an urban legend. Most recently, a new tale has been visited upon us. Once again, trick-or-treating disguised as a fact to hide its fictional face. Police and parents across the country are currently freaking out that those of us who enjoy a marijuana edible gummy now and then will maliciously hand them out to jovial, unsuspecting trick-or-treaters on Halloween night. Of course, they point out that no one's going to do this. Edibles are very expensive. Adults are not going to share their very expensive, very valuable Halloween edibles with children. They also point out in most legal states, they're not cool little gummies that look like, little bears or Scooby-Doo or whatever. They're just bricks or something formless, basically, because that is an edible due to regulations and trying to keep them away from children. They actually point out that there's obviously, there could be a chance of a mix-up and an edible gets in a bag. There could be one lone moron that may think it's funny because they're nuts to give kids edibles. It hasn't happened yet. There's no actual incidents that can be pointed to of this happening, but it could be happening. So in the end, do what you always do. If you have kids and they're not trick-or-treating, check their stuff, things that are unwrapped, things, stuff like that, avoid. And check the candy. That you're a parent. At some point, just do your job. And if you happen to find a marijuana edible in your kid's candy, well, congratulations. Have a good night. You have hit the jackpot. Be grateful. And say, little Timmy, little Joni, you can't have this. Mommy and Daddy's keeping this for later tonight. Go away. Take your bag to your room. Your bag of candy to your room. We are going to our room. Thanks, everybody, for checking out the show. Cannabis News, we're here 5 days a week. Make sure you search the Marijuana Times on YouTube. Click the notification bell there so you know when a new episode is dropped. For the audio version, check out Apple Podcasts for the audio version of the show. Thank you to Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening and sharing the show. Please continue to do so, and we'll see you next time right here on Cannabis News.